Welcome back to the Snark side. Thank you so much to all the babes for being here. So babes, wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Or good evening, honestly, depending on your time zone.
Right, exactly. Let me just set the scene for you right now, because the vibe is very, very specific today.
Oh, it is specific.
It is Saturday afternoon, and we had a little extra time before our weekend shenanigans. So naturally, we sat our butts down, we pulled the blinds shut, and we watched 2 more episodes of The Hunting Party.
Back to back. In the dark.
In the dark. And babes, we are here. We are fully in it.
We are so in it that the beverages have officially transitioned.
Yes. Let's just cling to that right now. Because yes, the iced coffees have officially been exchanged for wine.
We needed it.
We absolutely needed it to process the absolute psychological warfare we just witnessed on this show.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. And I want to give a massive shout out to all the snarkers who have been literally blowing up our comments, begging us to cover this show. Babes, we hear you.
We hear you loud and clear.
And over the next week, we are getting completely caught up, which means double episodes are coming until we are totally current.
Look, I agree we are committed, but let's be real about the workload here for a second. We are essentially doing the FBI's job for free at this point, and I don't even have a badge to show for it.
You literally have a glass of Pinot Noir.
I do. I'm just a person with a glass of wine and a concerning amount of browser tabs open about the behavioral patterns of fictional serial killers. But fine, I will carry the analytical burden for the squad.
We appreciate your sacrifice, bestie. We really do. And listen, we do have some major weekend shenanigans planned tonight. And don't worry, babes, we will absolutely debrief you later on how it all goes down.
Oh, we have to.
But first, we need to talk about cheese.
God, the cheese. I'm already stressing.
Because tonight, we are going to a wine and cheese tasting. And babes, we are freaking pumped.
I mean, theoretically pumped.
Right. I am fully prepared to eat fancy cheeses I absolutely cannot pronounce. I'm going to act like I have a wildly refined palate.
You're going to use the word earthy. I know you are.
I am. I'm going to swirl my glass, look thoughtfully into the middle distance, and say things like, oh yes, I'm really getting the earthy undertones of the barnyard.
The barnyard, okay.
We're going to rank everything like it's a cutthroat reality competition. And we're going to drink way more wine than is biologically necessary for a Saturday evening.
Well, I have already been Googling the phonetic pronunciations of French dairy products for the last 45 minutes.
You have not.
I have, just so I can sound mildly superior.
Huh?
I plan on pretending to taste notes of oak and regret, and honestly, I am already side-eyeing you for the amount of brie you are inevitably going to hoard on your little wooden board.
The brie is mine. You know, I get territorial over a soft cheese.
You really do.
But babes, there is a twist. The only downside to this incredibly aspirational evening is that we are going with our mothers.
Yeah, deep breaths.
And babes, they are certified narcissists. I mean, they gave birth to absolute gems, obviously. But babes, they're crazy.
They are chaotic in a public setting.
I am already mentally preparing for the emotional terrorism that is about to occur over a plea to charcuterie.
Let's just break down the strategy here, because it is going to be a bloodbath. The last time we went wine tasting with them, it was mild public chaos. Do you remember?
Oh, my God. Please don't remind me.
They spent the entire time aggressively interrupting the sommelier to talk about their own home renovations.
Yes, the backsplash.
The backsplash. They made the entire tasting explicitly about themselves, and they were loudly judging everyone else in the room. They possess a level of unearned confidence that honestly borders on clinical delusion.
I still have trauma from when my mom told the guy pouring the Cabernet that he was holding the bottle too aggressively.
She literally critiqued his grip.
Like, who says that? It was humiliating, it was messy, and it was deeply traumatic. So, pray for us.
Seriously.
But honestly, dealing with our mothers is the perfect psychological warm-up for what we are about to unpack today. Because we are slightly tipsy, slightly nervous, and totally ready to tear into Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4 of The Hunting Party. Yes, we are.
The episodes are titled Zack Lang and Amanda Weiss. And babes, my jaw has been on the floor for the last 2 hours.
It is the absolute definition of a psychological roller coaster.
Literally.
So, let's get right into the mess. We are pulling all our thoughts, all our unhinged theories, and completely tearing apart the absolute insanity that just happened.
Yeah.
And we have to start with Episode 3.
We have to.
We need to talk about Zack Lang.
Yes. Okay, let me set this up for the babes who maybe need a refresher or are just getting caught up. If you existed on the internet anywhere between 2010 and 2014 in the universe of this show, Zack Lang was known as the millennial Robin Hood.
That nickname.
Which, first of all, I'm so incredibly triggered by that nickname. It is a wild, completely romanticized moniker for a literal serial killer.
It's disgusting.
During that 4-year stretch, he explicitly targeted the 1%. He murdered incredibly wealthy individuals claiming he was, like, taking out the trash and standing up for the working class. Right, and let's just look at his methodology back then, because it tells us so much about his pathology. He wasn't just shooting people from afar.
No, it was so personal.
It was incredibly intimate and invasive. The show gave us this chilling flashback to 2014 where Zack was working as a car detailer on Long Island.
Oh, that scene gave me the creeps.
He meticulously cleans this insanely wealthy client's luxury car, secretly copies the key, and then, 6 weeks later, hides in the trunk of that exact car.
In the trunk. For hours.
When the couple parks in their ultra-secure, multi-million-dollar garage, he pops the trunk, steps out, and murders them with a shotgun. It was entirely focused on the desecration of their extreme upper-class sanctuary.
And because of the cultural climate back then, people were still reeling from the financial crisis, people were angry, the vibes were generally atrocious. He actually developed a massive cult following.
Which is terrifying.
People were treating him like an anti-establishment folk hero. But then he gets caught. He gets shipped off to this shadowy black-site government facility called the Pit. And 10 years later, he escapes.
And this is where the show really flips the script.
Exactly. This is where I started screaming at my television. Because when he resurfaces in the present day, his whole profile completely inverts. He is literally unrecognizable.
Unrecognizable and heavily, heavily fundamental.
Oh my God, don't even get me started on the money.
Because, in a twist that made me want to throw my glass of wine at the wall, the episode reveals that Zack bought 580 Bitcoin back in 2013 for around $20,000.
Bestie, I cannot. I physically cannot.
I know.
I was wearing Chevron print and drinking atrocious sugary coffees in 2013. And this vagabond serial killer was making the greatest financial investment of the century. I am sick to my stomach.
It is financially nauseating, I'll give you that. But psychologically, it's fascinating.
Is it? Because I'm just mad he's rich.
It is, because it completely shatters the illusion of his Robin Hood persona. Think about it. A truly impulsive, ideologically driven revolutionary doesn't patiently hoard unregulated digital currency to ensure his own future wealth.
Oh, sure.
That is the behavior of a highly calculated, dumply self-interested planner.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fast forward to post-Pitt present day, and that Bitcoin stash is worth over $60 million. So the man who literally murdered the rich because he supposedly hated their wealth is now a multi-millionaire tech bro himself.
And who is his new target?
Exactly.
The poor, the struggling, the unemployed, people who are in the exact same vulnerable position he used to be in.
It's so hypocritical.
It's twisted. He lures these desperate, struggling men, dresses them up in immaculately tailored, disgustingly expensive suits. And then, this is the detail that absolutely sent me spiraling, and I know the Reddit babes were feral over it.
The watches.
He places $500,000 Marcuse's watch faces over their eyes before bludgeoning them to death. $500,000 over their eyes.
Let's break down the psychology here, because the show's profiler, Bex, absolutely nails it in this episode.
Bex is a queen. We stand Bex.
We do. She points out that his supposed political motivations from 2010 were nothing but a convenient, trendy disguise for extreme, malignant narcissism. He didn't actually give a single damn about wealth inequality or the working class. He felt small. He felt inferior. He craved the adoration of the public to combat his own deep-seated feelings of inadequacy.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is such a classic, toxic trait. If you feel powerless and pathetic, you just reframe your destructive, selfish actions as a grand, noble crusade.
Exactly.
You convince yourself you aren't a murderer, you're a revolutionary. It's giving absolute delusion.
He really is.
And I loved the reaction of Hassani during this part. Hassani is one of the core team members, and he literally used to wash cars for millionaires who treated him like invisible garbage.
Right, he actually lived that struggle.
He knows what actual class resentment feels like in his bones. But he rightly, and very loudly, points out that the right to be angry at the system does not give you a blank check to murder people in their driveways. Having money, even if you're a jerk about it, doesn't mean you deserve to be executed by a guy with a god complex.
Well, the interiority of Zack Lang was always that of a lunatic, completely driven by personal grievances rather than any actual political ideology. But while the psychology tracks beautifully, we have to talk about the logistics of his new setup.
Oh, yes.
Because as an analytical watcher, the math here was simply not mathing for me.
Oh, thank God you brought this up. Because I have to push back on the plausibility of this entire watch scenario. The Snark squad in our comments were losing their minds over this glowing red flag.
It's this huge plot hole.
Zack is walking into a high-end exclusive jewelry store, repeatedly buying $500,000 Marcuse's watches, which means he needs 2 for every victim he kills. So we are talking millions of dollars in inventory.
Yeah.
And he's paying in cryptocurrency. And the store owner is just like, chill with it, asking 0 questions.
It strains credulity to its absolute breaking point.
Bestie, it's like someone walking into a luxury car dealership, pointing at 5 different Ferraris, and handing the general manager a heavy canvas duffel bag stuffed with non-sequential, blood-stained cash.
Right.
At some point, the manager has to say, hey, maybe I should call someone about this. You cannot operate at that level of financial absurdity without triggering some sort of federal oversight or raising a massive alarm.
On a purely procedural level, you are 100% correct. The suspension of disbelief is hanging by a thread. But if we look at the thematic argument the show is making, this logistical gap is actually deeply intentional.
Wait, really? Unpack that for me. You think the plot hole is actually the point?
Yes. Think about the watch seller's reaction when he is finally confronted by the FBI.
Okay, yeah. He was super defensive.
He initially refuses to give up his client's information without a warrant. Even when he is explicitly told that his client might be involved in horrific, brutal murders, his first priority, his instinctual reflex, is protecting the sale. He's protecting the anonymity of his extremely wealthy buyer. He genuinely did not care where those millions of dollars in crypto were coming from as long as his commission cleared.
Oh my God, you're right.
And that ironically mirrors the exact type of rampant, unchecked greed and moral blindness that Zack used to claim he despised in his Robin Hood days.
That is so true.
The system protects wealth, no questions asked. The show is arguing that passive greed, like looking the other way for a paycheck, is just as deadly as active murder. Zack is now heavily benefiting from the very corruption he used to murder people over.
Okay, my mind is actually blown. That is a terrifyingly brilliant insight. It completely validates the narrative choice, even if the real-world logistics are a little blurry.
It fits the theme perfectly.
It's like the monster didn't beat the system just gave the monster a platinum credit card.
Exactly.
But babes, Zack's transformation from killing the rich to obliterating the poor wasn't just triggered by his new crypto wealth. It was heavily, deliberately engineered by the horrific so-called therapy he received while incarcerated at the pit.
The pit. This is where the show stops being a standard procedural and turns into a sharp, horrifying critique of institutional power and psychological experimentation.
Absolutely. The team tracks Zack down because Bex notices this tiny, seemingly insignificant detail, a microscopic speck of green paint under a victim's fingernails.
Which is such good police work.
It leads them all the way back to Zack's childhood home in Wyoming, and specifically to the exact shade of green paint from his childhood bedroom.
And this is where we learn what the pit actually does.
Yes, because while Zack was locked up, the doctors didn't try to give him cognitive behavioral therapy. They didn't try to unpack his narcissism or give him coping mechanisms.
No, they did the opposite.
They used a technique they called primal therapy.
Which is essentially a highly clinical, sterilized term for a taxpayer-funded rage room.
Exactly. They built a meticulously exact replica of Zack's childhood bedroom inside a concrete silo at the pit. They handed him a baseball bat, hooked him up to a heart rate monitor, and actively encouraged him to violently smash everything to pieces.
Under the guise of therapy.
They told him he was releasing his trauma.
But psychologically speaking, that is the worst possible thing you can do for someone with severe narcissistic rage.
It's literally adding fuel to a fire.
We have to ask why they chose that specific room and how this therapy actually works on a neurological level. What was the root trauma they were trying to excavate?
Oh God, the root trauma. I can barely talk about this part.
Well, as the episode reveals, when Zack was a teenager, he realized his father was utterly toxically obsessed with wealth, status, and appearance.
Just a terrible, terrible father.
Zack, who was just a kid desperate for his father's approval and love, wanted to give his dad something beautiful. So Zack killed the family cat king. And he dressed the dead animal in expensive stolen jewelry to impress his dad.
Which is, babes, I was screaming I had to pause the TV. It is deeply, profoundly disturbing on so many levels. I'm spiraling just thinking about it.
It is horrifying, but it's also textbook forensic psychology. It is the McDonald triad manifesting in real time.
Remind me what the triad is again.
The triad is animal cruelty, fire setting, and bedwetting. It's often used as an indicator of severe sociopathy or psychopathy in children. Animal cruelty specifically shows a complete lack of effective empathy. It shows the child views living things as mere objects to be manipulated for their own gratification.
Like little fleshy mannequins.
Basically. But what locked this pathology in wasn't just the act itself, it was the father's reaction.
Right, because his father's reaction wasn't to look at his son and say, oh my God, my child is deeply unwell. I need to get him intensive psychiatric help immediately. No. His father called him a freak over a quote-unquote stupid cat and permanently kicked him out of the house. He threw him out like garbage.
Over the jewelry, really.
Yeah. The rejection, the horrifying realization that his father valued luxurious, shiny things over the mental well-being of his own son is the core wound.
And that rejection cemented Zack's worldview. It taught him that humans are just mannequins for wealth and that love is entirely transactional and conditional. So when the pit puts him in a replica of that bedroom and tells him to smash it with a bat, they aren't helping him process that rejection. If we break down the mechanics of primal therapy in this context, they're actually reinforcing the synaptic pathways of his anger.
They're making him worse.
They are training his brain to associate violent, physical destruction with emotional relief. They took a chaotic, ideologically confused shooter and neurologically engineered him into a meticulous, ritualistic serial killer. The pit is not a rehabilitative facility, it is an incubator. They made the monster sharper.
They literally handed him the blueprint.
So cut to the present day. Zack is using his new wealth to create a fake Bitcoin consulting company in Chinatown. But it's not a company, it's a literal victim farm.
It's so dark.
He lures in these down-on-their-luck guys, like this character James Small, and later a guy named Damon, promising them the absolute world. He promises to make them millionaires who change their lives. But in reality, he is turning them into living, breathing surrogates of his toxic father.
He's recreating the dynamic. He dresses them in the exact bespoke suits his father would wear, puts the disgustingly expensive watches his father coveted over their eyes, and then bludgeons them to death in a replica of the bedroom where his father rejected him. It is a devastating, sickening cycle of violence.
And the way Bex finally captures him is so incredibly smart, because she completely inverts the pit's toxic methodology.
She's a genius.
The team finally tracks Zack down to this isolated beach house. He's about to murder Damon. He has him tied up in yet another replica bedroom. Hassani and Shane, who are all adrenaline at this point, are ready to kick the door down and go in guns blazing.
Which, typical boys.
Right. But Bex physically stops them. She walks in, completely lowers her weapon, makes herself entirely vulnerable, and uses pure psychology.
It was such a tense scene. She looks at him and tells him he isn't a monster. She acknowledges that what he did as a teenager to the cat was a horrific, misguided cry for help. But she actually validates his underlying pain.
Which nobody has ever done.
Never. She validates the simple human desire of a child, wanting to please a father who is fundamentally incapable of loving him.
It's the first time in his entire life that someone has addressed his core trauma with genuine empathy. The pit exploited it, his father rejected it, but Bex names it and holds space for it.
Yeah.
And it completely short-circuits his brain. It causes massive cognitive dissonance, freezing him just long enough for the team to breach the room and save Damon.
It was a beautiful takedown. But I have to be honest with you, bestie. While the takedown was great, I was slightly annoyed by the cat storyline.
Really? Why?
And a lot of the Snark squad agreed with me in the comments. A few reviewers pointed out that the inclusion of the animal cruelty felt so incredibly tacked on.
I can see that.
It felt like the writers were just checking off boxes on a generic serial killer bingo card to make absolutely sure the audience didn't accidentally sympathize with his anti-wealth arguments from his Robin Hood days. Does giving a killer such a stereotypical textbook psychopathic trait cheapen the complexity of the show?
That is a very fair critique, and I completely see why you and the Snarkers felt that way. The show had already established his narcissism so well. Throwing in the dead, jewel-encrusted cat does border on the melodramatic. It's a bit heavy-handed.
It's a very Lifetime movie.
However, if we step back and look at the architecture of this season, it serves a massive thematic purpose.
How so?
It perfectly sets up the stark central contrast of the entire show, the toxic nature of biological family versus the healing power of found family.
Oh, I love where this is going.
Zack's origin story is entirely about the absolute destruction wrought by his biological father. His father's conditional love ruined his brain. Contrast that with our task force. You have Bex, Shane, and Hassani. They are a found family.
They really are.
In this very episode, we see Shane bringing everyone their highly specific coffee orders without being asked. He's playing with a magic 8-ball just to make Hassani laugh. And Hassani immediately, quietly checking the locks on Bex's new apartment to ensure she's safe.
Sure, check the locks. I sobbed.
They protect each other fiercely. The show is aggressively arguing that you cannot control the family you are born into, and sometimes they will destroy you. But the family you choose, your Snark squad, if you will, can be your absolute salvation.
Okay, I love that framing. And honestly, it makes me so emotional about our little task force.
They're the best.
But babes, we are going to see that found family tested to its absolute limits very soon. Because while the pit used physical rage runes to destroy Zack Lang, they used something far more insidious, like deep, invisible, emotional manipulation to break the killer we meet in episode 4.
The shift in tone is jarring.
We are moving from the loud, violent rage of Zack Lang to the terrifying, quiet desperation of Amanda Weiss.
Yes. Episode 4 introduces us to Amanda Weiss, played by Elizabeth Gillies, who, by the way, the internet was absolutely thrilled to see.
Oh my God, the Reddit babes were feral. People were literally squealing in the comments. She is so iconic.
She's great.
So Amanda is dubbed the masseuse, and her backstory is just tragic. In 2017, she killed 6 of her massage clients in a single week.
6 in a week!
And the trigger for this killing spree is heartbreaking. During a session, she is trying to talk to a client about the recent death of her sister, Lucy. Lucy was the only person in the world Amanda truly loved, the only person who tethered her to reality.
Her absolute lifeline.
And the client, who is lying on the table, just callously, dismissively brushes her off. The client literally tells her to stop talking and be quiet so she can relax.
I mean, spa etiquette aside, you don't say that to a grieving person.
You just don't. And that dismissal, that ultimate confirmation that Amanda is entirely invisible and insignificant to the rest of the world, causes her to snap. She literally breaks the client's neck, kicking off her spree.
It is a tragedy of profound isolation.
Truly.
When Amanda is eventually caught and sent to the pit, her isolation only deepens to an unimaginable degree. According to the case files Bex pulls, Amanda remained completely, entirely mute for 283 consecutive therapy sessions.
283 sessions.
Yeah.
She refused to speak, to engage, to even acknowledge anyone in the room.
Total shutdown.
And this is where I start getting so angry, I want to scream into a pillow. Because this brings us to Dr. Celia Erickson.
Oh, Dr. Erickson.
Dr. Erickson takes over Amanda's case. And babes, Dr. Erickson is not your average empathetic therapist. She is Harvard and Oxford educated. She walks into every room fully believing she is the smartest, most untouchable person alive.
She has massive ego.
She has more narcissistic control energy than our mothers at a sommelier class, and she decides to use a clinical technique called mutual stress-related attachment.
Which is, again, a highly clinical way of describing an incredibly cruel, deeply unethical psychological game.
She is playing God. Because Amanda won't speak, Dr. Erickson decides to fabricate the existence of another inmate in the cell right next to Amanda's. She names this phantom inmate Alice.
It's so messed up.
Dr. Erickson profiles Amanda's deepest wounds and creates Alice to be exactly what Amanda desperately needs, a sister figure, an addict, and a killer, just like Amanda's dead sister, Lucy.
She tailors the delusion perfectly.
Exactly. Dr. Erickson then communicates with Amanda by tapping on the wall in a secret code, pretending to be Alice.
The mechanics of this are absolutely terrifying if you understand how trauma bonding works. We need to talk about the isolation effect on the prefrontal cortex.
Please explain it, because it is wild.
When a human being is starved of all social stimuli, when they are in complete silent isolation for hundreds of days, their cognitive defenses entirely collapse.
They just break down.
The brain becomes so desperate for any form of connection that it will hallucinate social patterns just to survive. It's like being in a sensory deprivation tank. Eventually, Even a phantom tap on a cold concrete wall feels like a blinding flash of light. It becomes a lifeline.
That makes so much sense.
Dr. Erickson knew this. Over time, Amanda falls for the deception completely. She builds a massive, deep-seated trauma bond with this fake person. She finally feels seen. And then Dr. Erickson seemingly just gets bored, quits, and walks away from the pit.
The absolute audacity. She just packs up her designer bags and leaves.
She just abandons the project.
She walks away from the experiment, leaving Amanda with this incredibly intense, completely unresolved, artificial trauma bond. And that abandonment directly leads to the crisis in the present day.
Right, because Amanda escapes.
Amanda escapes the pit and immediately kidnaps an innocent woman named Tiffany Blair. Why? Because Tiffany bears a striking physical resemblance to her dead sister Lucy, and therefore to the imaginary Alice.
She's trying to recreate the bond.
Amanda drags Tiffany to an isolated freezing cabin in the Cumberland Mountains in Kentucky. And in a moment that truly shows how profoundly broken Amanda's brain is, she actually snaps Tiffany's ankle so she can't run away. She calmly promises to take care of her forever.
The ethics here are non-existent. The reviewers across the board were furious, not just at the character of Dr. Erickson, but at the terrifying implications for the world of the show.
Yeah, people were mad.
Doctors from a government black site are creating psychological time bombs, walking away without any oversight. And when that bomb goes off and innocent people like Tiffany are kidnapped and tortured, the doctors just shrug it off as a failed clinical trial.
It's the ultimate hubris. But before we get into how Bex handles this absolute nightmare, I have to point out a massive plot hole that I simply could not get past.
I think I know exactly where you're going with this.
Bestie, I need you to explain this to me, because the math is not mathing. How exactly do you teach a complex, nuanced wall-tapping code to a patient who refuses to speak, refuses to look at you, and refuses to interact with you in any way?
It is a massive logical leap by the writers, I won't lie.
It makes zero sense. It's like trying to teach someone Morse code by aggressively blinking at them while they're staring at the floor in a pitch-black room.
Yeah, the show definitely glossed over that.
How did Dr. Erickson convey the rules of the code? Did she slip a cipher under the door? Did they magically sync up their brainwaves? I could barely get you to understand my texts when I use emojis, and you're telling me this mute woman learned a complex tapping language through a concrete wall.
It requires a level of suspension of disbelief that I know you are struggling to provide.
I am struggling.
But if we look past the logistical implausibility, it actually speaks volumes about Amanda's internal state. Think about it. The fact that Amanda learned the code, however impossible it seems practically, suggests that on a deep subconscious level, she wanted to be deceived.
Oh, wow.
Her starvation for a sisterly bond made her an eager participant in her own delusion. She seized upon those taps because the alternative, facing the cavernous void of her total isolation, was worse than accepting a lie.
Wow. Okay, when you put it like that, it just makes me want to cry. Her need for connection overrides basic reality.
Exactly.
And that tragic, desperate need leads directly to one of the most intense, claustrophobic undercover standoffs in the show's history. Because the only way the team can save Tiffany is for Bex to literally become the lie.
Which is such a massive risk.
The team locates the cabin in Kentucky. But they know if they just kick the door down, Amanda, who is highly volatile and deeply paranoid, will instantly execute Tiffany and then herself.
It would be a bloodbath.
So Bex makes a massive, incredibly risky, and ethically dubious decision. She decides to go in undercover, pretending to actually be the mythical Alice.
And this requires a level of profiling skill that is just mind-blowing. Bex has spent the entire car ride meticulously studying Dr. Erickson's therapy files.
Cramming for the test of her life.
Literally. When she encounters Amanda outside the cabin in the snow, she has to instantly, flawlessly prove her identity to a serial killer whose entire survival depends on paranoia.
Right.
Bex uses these incredibly deep, obscure cuts from the therapy transcripts, mentions a specific guy named John from Minnesota, and references a fake story about a watch that Alice supposedly stole.
Elizabeth Gillies acts her absolute heart out in this scene. You can literally see the warring emotions on Amanda's face. You see the desperate, agonizing hope that her friend is real, actively fighting against the ingrained paranoia of a killer.
It's incredible acting.
But Bex is a master manipulator in this moment. She sells it, they go into the cabin together, and the tension here is masterful because unbeknownst to Amanda, Tiffany hasn't just been crying on the bed.
No, Tiffany is resourceful.
Tiffany used a loose, rusty nail from the floorboards to pick the lock on her ankle chain.
Wish, good for her.
So when Bex and Amanda enter the back room of the cabin, the bed is empty. Tiffany is gone. And Amanda instantly, violently realizes she's been played.
The betrayal she must have felt.
She realizes the one connection she thought she had in the world is a federal agent. Amanda goes straight for her gun, but Bex is faster and draws her weapon. It's pure standoff.
And this is where things get really dark.
But Bex knows a shootout means someone dies. And they still haven't secured Tiffany in the woods, who, by the way, has a severe heart murmur and desperately needs her medication. So to completely de-escalate the situation, to get Amanda to drop her weapon and surrender peacefully, Bex tells a monstrous, devastating lie.
She looks Amanda dead in the eye and tells her that Alice is real.
Yes, my jaw dropped. She looks this broken, desperate, abused woman in the eye and says that Alice didn't escape the explosion at the pit.
She doubles down on the delusion.
She says Alice is still in her cell, alive, and that she asks about Amanda every single day. She tells Amanda that if she puts the gun down and surrenders, Bex will personally take her back to see Alice.
It is an emotional kill shot. Amanda drops her weapon immediately, completely surrendering to the false hope of finally seeing her friend.
So sad.
But in doing so, we have to look at what Bex actually accomplished. Bex essentially weaponized Dr. Erickson's profoundly unethical therapy. She used the exact same psychological torture device that broke Amanda in the first place.
Which brings us to the massive moral ambiguity of this entire sequence. I'm spiraling over this.
It's meant to make you spiral.
Bex spent the entire episode despising Dr. Erickson. She interrogated her. She was visibly disgusted by how Erickson played God with a patient's mind. And yet when the chips are down, what does Bex do? She does the exact same thing.
The ends justify the means for her.
She uses total emotional devastation to close the case.
It's a brilliant, dark narrative turn for Bex. The reviewers noted that this sequence shows exactly how proximity to the pit is fundamentally changing her. She is becoming more calculated, more cold.
She's losing her humanity a bit.
She's willing to sacrifice her own ethical boundaries to trap a woman in a cruel, lifelong delusion if it means securing the tactical objective of saving the innocent victim. It works, but at what cost to Bex's soul? If we look at the psychology of compartmentalization in Undercover Cops, the line between playing a monster and becoming one gets incredibly thin.
Is she absorbing the toxicity of the pit? Is she becoming the exact thing she's hunting? Bestie, it makes me so stressed.
It should make you stressed, because if we connect this to the bigger picture of Bex's character, this moment heavily mirrors her past trauma with her former partner, Oliver Hodel.
Bray Oliver.
Bex has been profoundly betrayed. She has been manipulated by the people she trusted most. She fundamentally hates being lied to and kept in the dark.
Hypocrite much.
Exactly. Yet here she is, masterfully manipulating and lying to Amanda. It demonstrates a massive darkening of the show's moral compass. The line between the good guys and the bad guys is becoming entirely porous.
And speaking of porous moral boundaries and massive life-altering lies, we have to talk about the B-plot that runs through both of these episodes.
The B-plot that is taking over the show.
Because, babes, this B-plot is rapidly becoming the A-plot of the entire season. And it involves the biggest betrayal of all.
It really does.
While Bex is out in the snow, hunting Zack Lang and Amanda Weiss, she and Morales are quietly, secretly pulling threads on the overarching mystery regarding their new boss, Colonel Lazarus.
And the revelation they uncover is nothing short of explosive. It completely upends the foundation of the show.
It starts with this tiny, seemingly insignificant clue dropped in episode 3. A friend of Shane's casually mentions that Colonel Lazarus once ran a sub-5-minute mile in high school.
Which is an insane athletic feat.
Which, as anyone who has ever run track will tell you, is elite. You don't just run a sub-5-minute mile in high school and not leave a paper trail. There are state records, newspaper clippings, athletic archives.
You can't scrub that easily.
So Bex and Morales start digging. And because whoever scrubbed Lazarus's identity focused entirely on deleting digital military and federal databases, they completely missed the analog archives.
This is where old-school investigative work shines. Morales uses digitized microfilms and local newspaper archives from the 1990s in Michigan, and what she pieces together is staggering.
I couldn't believe it.
They discover that Colonel Lazarus is a completely fabricated identity. Her real name is Caitlin Taylor.
Caitlin Taylor.
She was a high school track star in Michigan who murdered 3 local teenage girls. She is a convicted, cold-blooded serial killer.
She was an inmate at the pit.
Yes.
And somehow, Through some terrifying conspiracy, this convicted murderer was fast-tracked out of a black site prison, given a new identity, and placed into a high-level military command position.
Overseeing the exact task force designed to hunt down her former inmate peers.
Make it make sense?
It is a massive security threat and the ultimate conflict of interest. How does a serial killer become the boss? It requires institutional complicity at the highest levels of government.
And as if that isn't wild enough, Episode 4 drops a personal bombshell that ties this all together in the most tragic, heartbreaking way possible.
Poor Shane.
Following the Amanda Weiss case, the team goes out for drinks at a bar. And Shane,
Oh, babe.
our golden retriever,
Shane is arguably the golden retriever of the team. He's the guy who brings the coffee, he plays with the magic 8-ball, he literally dives down hills to save victims. He is pure goodness. And at the bar, he finally opens up to Bex. He takes a massive emotional risk, completely lowering his defenses.
he confesses the real reason he took this dark, depressing job at the pit. He isn't just a dedicated soldier looking for a promotion. He took the job because he is desperately looking for his biological mother.
He's just looking for family.
He doesn't know her name. He doesn't know what she looks like. All he has is a tiny snippet of her voice from an old, scratchy childhood therapy tape.
Which creates unbelievable, suffocating, dramatic tension for the audience because we, and Bex, already know the answer.
Exactly, because earlier in the episode, Morales ran a vocal audio match on Shane's tape. And the voice of Shane's biological mother is a 100% biometric match to Colonel Lazarus,
Caitlin Taylor.
the serial killer boss.
The irony is absolutely devastating. Shane represents the pure, beating heart of the found family theme we discussed earlier. He is all about empathy and connection.
He's the glue.
To discover that his biological roots are directly tied to a psychopathic killer, to the very woman manipulating his unit, is a narrative gut punch. And when he tells Bex, pouring his heart out over a beer,
I know what you're going to say.
Bex chooses to lie.
She gives him this blank, worried stare, and she says absolutely nothing. She keeps the massive secret. Why? Why would she do that to him?
Because she is operating on pure survival instinct. As we just discussed with Amanda Weiss, Bex is deeply scarred by betrayal.
But Shane is her friend.
She knows the profound, shattering damage that comes from trusting the wrong person. By withholding the truth, she likely believes she is protecting Shane from the devastating reality that his mother is a monster.
Okay, fine.
But more cynically and more likely, she is protecting herself. She is keeping the tactical advantage of knowledge until she understands exactly what game Lazarus is playing. She can't trust Shane not to react emotionally and blow their cover.
But the game Lazarus is playing is escalating so rapidly. Bessie, I was yelling at my screen. Why would a former serial killer deliberately take over the exact task force designed to hunt down pit escapees?
A bold move.
It feels incredibly unnecessarily risky. She is putting herself directly in the crosshairs of the world's best profilers. Is she desperately trying to cover her tracks by controlling the investigation? Or is there a deeper, more arrogant, God-complex game being played here?
It is absolutely a God complex combined with absolute ruthlessness. We see the contrast perfectly between Shane and Lazarus. They share the same DNA, but they are fundamentally different creatures.
Night and day.
Shane chooses empathy. Lazarus chooses pure, unadulterated violence to ensure her survival, and we see exactly how far she will go in the closing moments of episode 4.
Right. Jonathan Peck, who seems to be acting as Lazarus's creepy inside man, tips her off that Bex and Morales are digging into the old microfilm files.
He's the worst.
He warns her that they are getting close to the Caitlin Taylor identity. And Lazarus doesn't panic. She doesn't pack a bag and run.
She goes on the offensive.
She visits Dr. Henry Yolis. He is an elderly man living in a quiet assisted care facility. But crucially, he is a former architect of the pit.
He's a massive loose end.
He is the only living witness who can definitively, legally place Caitlin Taylor inside that facility. He knows exactly who she is and the crime she committed. And in the final chilling scene of the episode, Lazarus walks into his room and simply murders him in his bed.
Cold, calculated, and entirely without remorse.
Just unbothered.
It is a surgical, preventative strike. She eliminates the liability without hesitation, and I predict that the fallout from this, not just the murder of Dulles, but the inevitable explosive moment when Shane discovers that Bex knew his mother was a killer and lied to his face about it, is going to be the emotional climax of the entire season.
It's going to destroy the team.
The found family is going to be tested by the ultimate biological betrayal.
Okay, babes, my heart rate is fully elevated. We need to transition into our segments to process this
Right.
because I am unwell.
Let's do it.
Welcome to segment 1, Predator or Prey Energy. This is where we analyze who is actually controlling the board and who is just reacting to the chaos. Bestie, who is giving predator, and who is giving prey.
Honestly, the pit itself is the ultimate predator.
The institution.
Yes, think about it. The institution took in Zack Lang and Amanda Weiss, two people who were absolutely damaged and dangerous, yes. But the pit isolated their specific vulnerabilities, weaponized their trauma, and engineered them into highly efficient killing machines.
That's true.
The doctors are sitting behind two-way glass, taking notes while human beings are psychologically tortured. The inmates are just prey that got released back into the wild with sharper teeth.
I totally agree, but I also think Lazarus is giving massive predator energy. She didn't just survive the pit, she conquered it.
She definitely did.
She manipulated the entire federal government to give her a badge and a gun. She is hunting the hunters. Meanwhile, I hate to say it, but our sweet golden retriever Shane is giving ultimate prey energy right now.
Oh, completely.
He is completely in the dark, desperate for a mommy who is actively murdering people down the street. It's so sad.
Which brings us perfectly to segment 2, gut feeling versus bad decision. We debate whether a character's instinct was actually right or just a one-way ticket to chaos. And we have to talk about Bex lying to Shane at the bar. Gut feeling or bad decision?
Oh, it was a terrible, toxic, bad decision.
I disagree.
I am reacting purely emotionally here, but you do not lie to your found family. Shane opened up his entire soul to her. By keeping that secret, she is robbing him of his agency. When he inevitably finds out she knew, and he will find out because this is television, it is going to destroy their trust forever. She's acting just as manipulative as Dr. Erickson.
I strongly disagree. I think it was a brilliant, necessary gut feeling.
Oh.
Let's look at the strategy. Shane is emotionally compromised. He is desperate for his mother. If Bex tells him the truth right there in the bar, what does he do?
He confronts her.
He confronts Lazarus. He confronts a highly trained, sociopathic killer who commands their unit and has all the institutional power. Lazarus would eliminate him or at the very least destroy his career and frame him.
Ugh, I hate that you're right.
Bex, keeping her mouth shut, was a cold, calculated survival tactic. She's keeping him alive by keeping him ignorant until they have an airtight case.
Ugh, I hate when your logic makes sense. Fine. Let's move to segment 3. If we were tracking this case, this is where we insert our highly unqualified selves into the hunt and admit how badly we would mess it up. Bestie, what would you have done?
If I were tracking Zack Lang, I wouldn't have been looking for green paint under fingernails. I would have immediately subpoenaed the crypto exchanges.
Oh, true.
The man is moving millions of dollars in Bitcoin to buy watches. There's a digital ledger. I would have had the forensic accountants freeze his wallets on day one. He can't buy $500,000 watches if his funds are locked. The FBI relying on a paint chip instead of following the blockchain is embarrassing.
Look at you, coming through with the Financial Crimes Division energy.
Thank you.
If I were in this episode, I would have completely blown the Amanda Weiss undercover operation.
Oh, 100%.
If I was pretending to be Alice, the second Amanda asked me a question about our fake past, I would have forgotten the lore. I would have been like, wait, did we steal a watch or a car? Was it John from Minnesota or Mike from Ohio?
You panic.
I would have stammered, she would have realized I was a Fed, and we both would have ended up dead in that cabin.
Yeah.
I do not have the ability to lie under pressure without sweating profusely.
Which is exactly why you are not allowed to negotiate the check when we go out.
Fair enough. Okay, let's hit our final segment, Snark Squad Case Files. This is where we throw out wild, slightly unhinged theories about what's really going on with the overarching plot. What is your craziest theory right now?
Do you want to go first?
Okay, hear me out. What if Dr. Celia Erickson didn't just quit the pit? What if she is secretly working with Colonel Lazarus?
Oh, wait.
Think about it. Erickson creates these perfectly manipulated psychological weapons like Amanda. Lazarus gets put in charge of hunting them down. What if they are coordinating the escapes to justify the task force's budget or to eliminate specific targets in the real world under the guise of serial killer sprees? They're two highly educated, narcissistic women playing God. I think they are in cahoots.
That is unhinged, but I don't hate it. But I have a theory that is going to make you bad.
Oh, God. Why?
What if Shane isn't just an innocent golden retriever?
Don't you dare.
What if his entire I'm looking for my mom persona is a massive cover? We know the pit programs people. What if Lazarus actually programmed her own son? years ago.
Yo,
What if Shane is a sleeper agent placed on the team by Lazarus and he already knows exactly who she is? He's just playing Bex to see how much she knows.
I am hanging up. I'm walking away from the microphone. Do not put that evil out into the universe.
It makes narrative sense.
Shane is pure. If Shane is a bad guy, I am writing a strongly worded letter to the network.
I'm just saying, trust no one. Especially not the guy who always volunteers to get the coffee. He's listening to all the conversations.
I am spiraling. This show is going to put me in therapy. But babes, we have to wrap this up because our weekend chaos is about to begin.
The cheese beckons.
The cheese and our mothers are waiting. Thank you so much to the Snark Squad for hanging out with us and letting us vent about this absolute masterpiece of a mess.
It was a journey.
Make sure to share the podcast with your reality TV-obsessed bestie, drop a rating, and leave a review telling us your wildest theories about Lazarus.
And please send positive energy to our respective sanity tonight.
Seriously, babes. We started this afternoon with iced coffees, transitioned to wine, dreamed of peaceful cheese boards, and now we are about to walk into full, unadulterated family chaos. Pray for us.
Be strong.
Stay sneaky, stay iconic, and we will see you on the Snark side.